Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha Sada Shiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahavirjam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaste to all of you.
Namaste.
So let us chant a couple of these verses. So Mohini, would you like to unmute yourself and Vasudevendra Yogindram Natva Jnanapradam Gurum Mumukshunam Hitarthaya Tattvabodho Vidhiyate. So we will now chant this 1.14 Tattvavivekah. Tattvavivekah kaha Atma Satyam Tadanyat Sarvam Mithyeti Atma kaha Sthula Sukshma Karana Sharirat Vyatiriktaha Panchakoshatitaha San Avasthatraya Sakshi Satchidananda Rupasan Yas Tisthati Sa Atma. Okay, you can mute yourself. So there is a Pata Bheda here. Sometimes here you will find such, instead of Satchidananda Rupaha, you will find Satchidananda Swarupaha. So just a Pata Bheda there. talking about Tattvabodha, a discriminative inquiry leading to the knowledge of truth. That is what Vedanta is. And this seeking of truth is very different from every other seeking of truth. We saw that. Why is that? Because everything that we studied before and will study in the future is about things that are other than myself. That is something that is perceivable or may not be perceivable, like the planets out there. Some planets we can't see, but made perceivable in the future with some instruments, or can be visualized. Like the subject of psychology. Hey, psychology is about ourselves. I can't see my mind. Nobody can see their mind. Then what about that? Isn't that a subject about myself? Then we will say, no, even psychology, even though it appears to be about my mind, it is really my mind. So when I say my mind, that means there is an object called mind, which belongs to me. It is personal to me and my property, but it is not me. It is something I objectify. I see the thoughts in my mind. Therefore, I am the observer. The thoughts are the object. And there's some collection of this framework called mind, where there is a complex organization, creation of thoughts and logic and so forth, feelings. That entity we call mind. And when somebody studies this mind, by looking at the cause and effect, if the person had this kind of background, then the person is likely to behave in this kind of manner, likely to have some insecurities. When the person has had that kind of background in the childhood, then the person will project those problems in other people like this. This is what a psychologist will have studied, and based on that, that person will assess the mind of an individual. That is also not Vedanta. It is about a study of the mind. Even though the mind is so close to us. So this study of Vedanta, of the self, which we are now beginning to appreciate more and more, is what we call Vedanta. And it is different in another aspect also. What is the other aspect? This self that we are talking about, unfortunately, I have a lot of ideas about the self. So I want to study Sanskrit. I know very little Sanskrit. So I am signing up for a course. And I am learning new words, new sentences, new stotras. I am learning a lot of new things. I have never heard any of these things before. Sanskrit grammar, I never knew, so it's all new to me. But this I is not like that. I already know who I am. Correct? I already know who I am. I think I told you this before. When I was doing my graduate studies, when I was in grad school, there was a poster in the notice board announcing a talk by Swami Dayanandaji himself. And the topic was, who am I? Who am I was the topic. And it was in some city close to where I was studying, I think Indianapolis or something. And the thought that occurred to me is, This is a ridiculous topic. Literally, this is my thought. Why do I want to know who I am? This is the thought I had. So already I know so much about myself. I am discovering more and more. I am a scientist. And the future looks bright. There is so much. And you are talking about who am I? What is this nonsense? So because this is our idea. This is our idea. We know so much about ourselves. This phone is ringing somewhere. So this is our idea about ourselves. That is why this Vedanta is unique. Because a person who already has so much idea about oneself is told, hang on, keep that aside for a minute and listen. So, and what we listen is what? That also is something so weird. And it says you don't have any problems. And that's like a slap in my face. Because what are you talking? You don't have any problems. I just told you, I just came to you with so many problems. And you're now telling you don't have any problems. So this is why this topic is unique. The I about which I have so much idea is being told as an I which really has nothing to seek, which really has nothing to fulfill. This is what Shastram is saying. And we studied about Purushartha, which talks about what is it we are actually seeking. And we said that Dharma, Artha, Kama are there, but there is something called moksha that we are all seeking. Dharma, Artha, Kama seems to be some means through which I can gain this fullness that I am seeking. And then we said, Atmanastu Kamaya Sarvam Priyam Bhavati. If you remember, everything I am doing is for my own sake. A brilliant proposition by Yajnavalkya in the Vedantic Upanishad. And he says, hey, it doesn't matter even if you are serving the country, even if you are sacrificing your life for the country, for your children and for your family, still the commitment is to oneself alone. Brilliant revelation, because now the center of attention becomes myself. So that I is now highlighted. So far I was thinking I am a selfless guy and I do so many things for so many people. And Shastram says, yeah, that is nice, keep doing it. But there is a truth you must know. You are doing it for your own sake. Fine. Then we continued the discussion and we therefore brought the attention to the self. And then we said, hey, this Dharma, Artha, Kama is meant for my happiness. And I will continue to do more Dharma. I will continue to gain more Artha, security. And therefore, I must become happier. I must be eternally happy. Then Shastram says, Asha Nasti. Asha Nasti means don't even hope for that. This is the word Yajnavalkya uses and tells his wife. Asha, don't even hope for that. You can have some comforts. You can have a lot of comforts, but don't hope for this Purnatvam with all this stuff. We saw that, we studied that. Then we said, oh, then what? Then again, this Atma, then how am I going to be completely adequate? Because I see myself as inadequate. Then the Shastram says, wait a minute. You have made an assumption that you are no good. You are limited. You are useless. All this. You've assumed I'm vulnerable, I'm going to die any day. All this, I'm a victim of all this bacteria. This is what I've assumed. Yes, it is true. The body is like that. That is the nature of the body. But hey, you are not the body. And therefore, you need to look at who you are. And that you is already free. And that you, if it is already free, then why am I not free? Why do I feel bound? Why do I feel wretched? Sometimes, at least, if I ask, then the Shastram says, there is something to understand. I really don't know myself. There is ignorance about myself. And that ignorance is the cause for your not knowing yourself, and you must know. So we converted this pursuit, dharmartha kama pursuit, into a pursuit of moksha, and that moksha pursuit into a pursuit of seeking knowledge. Just a rough summary of what we did over the last few classes. So then this student is asking, what is Atma? Atma kaha? Or Tattvabodha kaha? Student asked earlier, and the teacher says, Atma satyam tad anyat sarvam mithya. Like that, the teacher answered. So here we are trying to understand now. We are getting into the, I don't like to say meat of the Vedanta. I don't know. They say meat sometimes in US. No, we don't have to worry about meat. We are getting into the crux of Vedanta. Why not use the word crux? Meat ko chhod do. Poor thing. They are all, living, and let them live happily. So we are now getting into the crux of Vedanta. So that confusion, why don't I see what the Shastra is saying? If I say, that is because this Atma, the Satyam and Mithya confusion is there. So we have to understand what is Satyam, what is Mithya. We started this discussion a couple of classes ago. And we saw that this body, well, we looked at the example of table and we appreciated that. We took this 30 kilogram table and reduced it to a weightless table. I think you all remember that. We made this table into a colorless table. And not some magic, not some sleight of hand. The magician uses sleight of hand and produces a pigeon out of nowhere. And we used to wonder what is going on, and the whole world is mesmerized. Even today they are mesmerized. Anytime this magic show happens, even the oldest man who doesn't have any teeth in his mouth will go, and because this magic is always gripping, and this unsolvable problem we are always mesmerized by. But Vedanta is not magic. What we did there is no magic. You can repeat it at home also. The magic has been taught to you, and you can do it repeatedly in your mind. So that vision, we are now talking about a vision where we are seeing, we reduced a table, we recognize that wood is real, wood is satyam, table is mithya. Because table gets its oxygen, its survival, its existence from a non-table. Table gets its existence from a non-table, from wood. Therefore, the table surrenders its reality to wood. Look at that. So table is happy as long as I don't inquire into the table. As long as I don't inquire into the reality of the table just masquerades as a very big thing. So we did that. Then we said we can do this analysis for any object. We saw the pen. Then we saw the body also. And so we are beginning to appreciate mithya. We saw that the body also is a bunch of parts, each of which have their own existence. Then what about this body? I don't see a thing called body, which is independent of the eyes, which is independent of the liver, which is independent of the kidney, the fingers, the hands and legs. We saw that. Therefore, even the body is mithya. Okay. Somebody comes to me and says, here is a car. I don't know what a car is. And so here's a car. What does it do? Oh, it takes you places. Car? But there is a lot of steel. Lot of steel, lot of metal. Is metal car? No, metal is not car. So take metal out. I see a lot of plastic. I know what plastic is. Is plastic car? No, plastic is not car. All this plastic steering wheel, plastic-like steering wheel, engineered plastic steering wheel, not car. So take all the things that are plastic. Is this, what is this? This is dashboard. Is dashboard car? Dashboard is not car. Dashboard ko chhod do. Then what about all this metallic stuff? What is this? Engine. Oh, engine car hai ki nahi? No, engine is not car. Because car is way too big. Okay, then engine ko chhod do. Take engine out. What about this thing? Oh, that is water. What about this? This is fuel. So take all these things out. What do you have? I don't see car at all. Then he told me, no, that's not the way it works. You have to put all these things together. Then you will get car. So I decided to put all these things together. This is Swamiji's example. I am borrowing this example from Swamiji. Some examples are my own, but some examples just come from our teachers, and we thank them for that. So I decided to take some steel, some metal. I put some metal. I put some plastic also. There's a lot of plastic these days. There is no shortage of plastic these days. So plastic to saralta se milta hai. Very easy. Put some plastic and put some water. Put some more parts. Put some styrofoam also I have at home. I put some styrofoam. Glass is needed. Yeah, glass also is there. I got some glass. Put it there. And then I was told fuel is needed. So I said, fuel ko bhi dalo. I got some fuel and put it here on this heap. And then somebody said, you must ignite. Aha, ignite. So हमने उसको ignite किया. I ignited this. And I looked for this car to take me places. And nothing happens. I see a big ball of fire. So क्या हो गया ये कार को? Then it is very obvious that no, that is not the way it works, Jayakumar ji. Putting all these twists together, that is not the way to put it. There is a very particular way to put it. Only these companies, these Tatas and the Hondas, They are the only people who know how to put it together. We must ask them how to put it together. And only that way of putting it together will make it a car. Aha. So therefore, putting together we appreciate, but we also appreciate that anything in this world must be intelligently put together. Put together with a purpose in mind, with a purpose in mind, with a function. And so that form that I see in front of me, I can call as an automobile or a car. Intelligently put together. Important aspect when we study Vedanta. So generally the things in this world are put together and intelligently put together also. So when we talk about this creation, we have to bring in this intelligently put together aspect of creation. Because every aspect is just amazing. It's amazing how the plants are made to create oxygen and the human beings, animals are made to consume the oxygen and give out the carbon dioxide which the plants need. I think this is just absolutely amazing. So, intelligently put together, car. So, car has a lot of parts. So, parts. Mithya is that which depends on something else for its existence. Mithya is made up of parts. Atma is partless. So quietly the Shastram is introducing the word partless. Niravayavaha. Mithya is finite. Atma cannot be finite. We will see later. Mithya depends on Satyam. Satyam does not depend on Mithya. Satyam does not depend on anything else. These are some of the ideas we are getting now. Okay, now Atma is something we have to look at. Satyam Mithya we have somewhat appreciated. But this answer that the teacher gave, Atma Satyam Tad Anyat Sarvam Mithya, also has another word called Atma. So the student asks the question, what is Atma? So let us ask the other question now. So Prasad, can you unmute yourself? Atma kaha.
Atma kaha.
Sthula sukshma.
Sthula sukshma.
Karana sharirat.
Karana sharirat.
Vyatiriktaha.
Vyatiriktaha.
Panchakoshatita san.
Panchakoshati sattan.
Yeah, so Panchakoshatitaha.
Panchakoshatiitaha. Tan.
Avasthatraya sakshi.
Avastaya sakshi. Avastaya sakshi. Can you repeat that, sir?
Avastha.
Avastha.
Traya sakshi.
Traya sakshi.
Satchidananda rupaha.
Satchidananda rupaha. Tan.
Yas tishtati.
Yas tishtati.
Sa atma.
The Atma.
Okay. You can mute yourself. So now the student is asking the next logical question. Okay, I have appreciated Atma and Satyam. I mean Satyam and Mithya. So tell me, what is Atma? Because that is the first word that you said. Atma satyam tad anyat sarvam mithya. Atma kaha. So now the discussion continues. And where the teacher is defining what Atma is. This is like a definition of Atma. And very long definition, where some more concepts are introduced. So, Sthula Sukshma Karana Sharirat Vyatiriktaha. So, some of you may have heard these things. Sthula Shariram, Sukshma Shariram, Karana Shariram. 3 types of bodies are introduced. And the teacher is saying, Atma is that which is different from these 3 bodies. Vyatirikta means different from, other than. Okay. I think in Hindi they use the word Vyatirikta also to mean similar. I mean to mean different than. And introduced more terms like Panchakosha Titaha. Panchakosha is been introduced. So other than the 5-fold experience, forms of experience, which we will discuss later. Then Avasthatraya Sakshi. Sakshi means witness. Atma is the witness of 3 states of experience. Sleep, dream state and waking state. We will see that more. And Satchidananda Swarupa San Yastishtati, that which is in the form of existence, consciousness and fullness. That is Atma. This is like word by word translation of this, what the teacher is saying. So we need to still gradually go from Satyam and Mithya only and come to Atma. So we saw that Satyam exists without Mithya. Mithya depends on Satyam for its existence. So we are now going to look at why there is this confusion. So we saw earlier that when it comes to other objects in this world, there is not any confusion about their identity. So I see the various objects in this world, the book and the house and the door and all the vegetables in the kitchen and outside trees, plants and even the flowers. There is no confusion about what is what. I may not know what a flower is. I may not know the name of a flower, but I know the flower. Very clear about these things. But when it comes to myself, the minute I come to my body, I am beginning to have the confusion. And I tell myself, I conclude that the body is myself. I am the body. So the properties of the body are my properties. Is my property. This is where confusion starts. Why does the confusion start? Or why does the confusion occur here only? I don't confuse myself to be any of the objects of this world. Even though sometimes I say, I am you. I look at my daughter or son and say, you are me. I am you. Means your life is my life. I look at somebody else and say the same thing. So that is a little different. You are me means I love you so much that I don't see a difference between you and me. That's the way of expressing that love. So we are not talking about that. There is no confusion there. I'm not confused there, because when my daughter doesn't have food and I have had food, I'm not confused that I don't say I didn't have food and both of us didn't have food. We don't say that. We don't have that kind of confusion. So we're not talking about that. Here we are saying the Satyam is very much there in Mithya. Satyam is there in Mithya, correct? Wood is very much there in the table. The water is very much there in the wave. Very much there. When I see the table, I don't search for the wood. When I see the wave, I don't search for the water, because the water is very much there. Satyam is very much there in Mithya. And so this Mithya, unfortunately or fortunately, doesn't matter. Mithya is not separate from Satyam. Mithya and Satyam, there is some connection. There is a close connection. And that connection is what causes the confusion for me. They are so close that I take the Mithya to be Satyam and I take the Satyam to be Mithya. Let us see that a little bit. We'll go gradually. So it is possible to just keep moving fast. And suddenly you will say, oh, I'm lost. And since I can't talk to you, we can't keep stopping. And in Vedanta, this is amazing tradition it is. The teaching continues. And it is the responsibility of the teacher to somehow appreciate what the students are going through, what kind of doubts they might have, and at the given moment what doubt might be there, that also the teacher has to find out, has to guess and address that question, because otherwise the student is saying this confusion will block understanding. So we don't rush in these kinds of things. If there is something that is totally unknown to me, I can know. I can come to know. So I bring my brother and I introduce him to you. He is my brother. His name is so and so. He is visiting me now. He works in Bangalore and he will be here for a week, etc. And we have a chat and you meet him, you shake hands and all that. Now you know my brother. At least a little bit about my brother. You know who he is. You can recognize him. Earlier you did not know him. Now you know him. No problem there. But Atma is not in that category where you can say, I never knew Atma. Now I am able to know Atma. So you can't have a fresh start. I already think I know about Atma. And I have taken this body to be Atma. See, that is another uniqueness about this, about Atma. If something I completely don't know, I can pick it up. And there is no burden of deconditioning. There is no burden of correcting a mistake. But here I have to correct a mistake that is deeply entrenched. Okay. So I know myself partially. How is that? Because I already have ideas about myself. I am tall, I am short, I am small, I am brown, I am sick, I am constantly becoming sick. I am great, I am accomplished, I am popular, I am famous, I am unknown, nobody cares about me, I am just this, that. So I have so many ideas about myself. So many, the number of ideas I have is so much that something else is needed to shake me up from all these ideas. All those ideas are in a way true also, because that is the nature of the body and the mind, and the body and the mind can never be perfect, never meet my expectations. But I have assumed this body to be myself, this mind to be myself. So now last class we also analyzed this body. And there is another way in which we can analyze this body. Biological, the subject of biology is there. They have analyzed this body. They look at the body. There is an anatomy. So many parts are there in this body. Separated out completely, we know exactly what this body has. There is a circulatory system, there is a skeletal system, there is a respiratory system, and there is nervous system, and there is all these systems. And then parts of the body are there, from the skull onwards to kidneys and the fingers, and they use words phalanges and this and that, and everything split out completely. And once in a while, if you go to the doctor's office, you can see the internal parts of the body also. A nice big picture of the skeleton is there, and you say, oh, this is who I am. So the doctor is very clear and knows everything about me, this body, which I am very carefully protecting. It's all right there. Okay, so biologically, the body has been reduced completely to, let's call it cells. Cell. There is a kidney cell, there is a nerve cell, there is a blood cell, all these are there, no doubt. But finally, the fundamental element is a cell. Body is reduced to cells. Therefore, biologically, we can appreciate body is mithya. There is a satyam which sustains this body. There is a satyam which exists independent of the body. The body is dependent on the cells. Biologically also, we can appreciate satyam and mithya. Now, what about chemically? Can we analyze the body? Yeah, sure. Chemically also, we can analyze the body. And the body is a bunch of chemicals. And completely analyzed into a combination of many of these elements. One of the so-called, I don't know how many elements are there these days, but let's say 125 or 30. Perhaps Haim can tell us later on how many elements are there in the periodic table. So body is a combination of not all the elements, maybe a subset of those elements. And I do an electrolyte test, and they tell me the body has so much sodium 130, because I did a test for my father the other day. So sodium, so I come to know, now I am now a very enlightened man when it comes to this human body, because I know there is some sodium. And sodium is needed for proper functioning of the body, and the sodium level goes to 125, 123, 120. The body stops functioning. So now see how much knowledge I have. And so immediately something has to be done. So sodium, potassium, same thing. And then they talk about bicarbonate and chlorides and all these things. So we know all these things. The body is a bunch of chemicals. But then, if you ask this fellow to put all this bunch of chemicals, and then I will tell you, go marry this person. We can't do that. Hey, what are you talking? You're turning it around and on me or what? Yes, body is a bunch of chemicals, but I don't marry a bunch of chemicals. That is just, that's a ridiculous way to say this. The body is more than the bunch of chemicals. Yeah, that is what is called mithya. Mithya body. No problem. We respect that. So this is, when we say body is mithya, we don't disrespect the body. Even the so-called weightless, colorless, shapeless body, mithya body, whose weight and color and everything depends on something else, we still respect that, and that is all there. So, biologically, the body is mithya. Chemically, the body is mithya. And we can appreciate that this mithya and satyam are just tightly connected. There is such so connected that I can appreciate why I am making a mistake. Mistake of taking this body to be I. Taking this body to be myself. Now, there are animals in this world also. Cows, dogs, etc. are all there. Do they also make this mistake of taking the body to be themselves? Well, yeah, they may make the mistake, but that mistake is not so relevant at all there, because they are not self-conscious. Important point to make. Self-consciousness is important here. This mistake is related to our being self-conscious. The cow is not conscious of itself. It has a limited amount of self-consciousness, enough to recognize that I am a cow. It doesn't have any language and it doesn't use the word Gomata, cow and all these things. It has no such vocabulary, but it knows I am this particular species, and that animal in front of me is also the same species as me. This animal is some other species. It keeps running around back and forth. It keeps barking and it's a big nuisance. And I have to, sometimes I feel it's coming and barking at me, and sometimes he's running away from me. I don't know, but I have to keep an eye on him. And he is not my species. That much self-consciousness the cow has and needs to have. So therefore, the cow mates with other cows. It doesn't mate with a dog. Why? Because that much knowledge it has. I am this species. That animal is different. That much self-conscious is there. This is my baby. This is my calf. That much knowledge it has. And among all the calves, it knows this is my calf, this is not my calf. All that also it knows. That much knowledge it has. But beyond that, it has no more self-consciousness. It cannot tell, hey, many cows, a family of cows is visiting, I have to dress up. I have to clean my place here. It looks so dirty. What is this? You have not shit. You have made this place dirty. And we need to clean it up. Look, our guests are all coming. No. This idea no cow has. And I must put some flowers on my horns. Nothing. This idea not there for the cow, because that requires a lot of self-consciousness. To say that I must look good, I must look different. To say I don't look good, I must be ultra self-conscious. I am able to look at myself. And not just look at myself. Looking at myself itself is not a problem. But when I look at myself, I am forced to make a judgment about myself. Self-judgment. Self-consciousness is there. Then from self-consciousness, I make a self-judgment, and that is where all the problems start. No cow makes a self-judgment that, look at that cow, how beautiful its horns are. Look at me, my horns are so crooked, not symmetric. No cow makes this judgment. Therefore, every cow seems to be satisfied with who he or she is. But the human being is not like that. I make a judgment about myself, and then I suffer for the rest of my life. Judgment. So from self-consciousness comes self-judgment. Okay. So therefore, for now, I think we've studied this before. And for now, we can say that because that Mithya and Satyam are so tied to each other, I have taken this body to be absolutely real. And this body is Atma. For me, Atma means body. If the body is sick, I am sick. If the body is shining, I feel good. If the body does a lot of sports, then I am a sportsman. If the mind is sharp, then I say I am sharp. If the mind has accomplished so many things, then I say I am so-and-so. I am a doctor, I am an engineer, I am the prime minister, I am the president. So this I is all over this body, mind, sense complex. So now we know the reason for why we have this self-confusion. Mithya and Satyam are intricately tied with one another. Table is intricately tied with wood. Wave is intricately connected with water. Body is intricately connected with Atma. Wave is wave is water, no doubt. But water is not wave, my dear. Water need not be wave. Water can take on any form. Table is, of course, wood. But the wood is independent of table. Please understand that. The wood can be without taking the form of table. The wood is free from being table. The wood has an identity and property that is not the properties of the table. That doesn't have anything to do with table, really speaking. At this moment, it has taken the form of a table. Likewise, the question we have to ask is Atma, I have assumed the body to be Atma, to be the self. I have assumed the properties of the body to be the properties of Atma. But I also know that I am not the body. I know in the back of my mind, I cannot be the body because I am the perceiver of the body. The body doesn't perceive me. The body is inert. The body doesn't tell me, hey, I am fat. Which body tells us I am fat? No body has this complex. I have a complex. I have a complex that the body is fat and I have to lose some pounds and I have to sign up with the gymnasium and I have to go and do all this treadmill and all this stuff they do. I have the complex. The body has no complex. That's why it keeps gathering more and more. Every time you eat something, it collects something. The body thinks, I have to save this for the future. It thinks somehow food is not available. And so it keeps collecting this fat. No, body is inert. I am the conscious being that is conscious of all these things. And I have made a conclusion. And Shastram says perhaps a wrong conclusion, that this body and I are identical. No, the body and I are related. The body is I, but I am not the body. We will see that later a little bit. Just I'm introducing it now. So this confusion between the Atma and the body is what we are trying to slowly appreciate and separate this Atma from the body. Not separate like I separate the parts of the pen, the cap I remove, the refill I remove, not that kind of separation. This table cannot be separated from wood. Why it can't be separated from wood? Because table depends on wood for its existence. If the wood walks away, there is no table. So if you say there is table, then you can't separate the table from wood. You can only separate it cognitively. The table can be separated from the wood only cognitively. Cognitively means what? So I'm just introducing the word cognitive. How do you separate this cognitively? Hey, somebody says the sun is rising in the east, and you go to the school and the teacher explains everything about solar system, and you learn about revolutions and rotations. And then the teacher asks the question, does the sun rise? So the students raise their hand and they say, no teacher, the sun cannot rise. Because the sun doesn't move at all. How can the sun rise when it cannot move? Then why does the sun rise in the morning? No, that is just an appearance. The sun really doesn't rise. The earth is moving, the earth is rotating on its axis, and as it rotates, you feel like the sun is rising. The sun really doesn't rise. Now, this student has a cognitive appreciation of the phenomenon of sunrise. The teacher doesn't have to stop the sun from rising. Wait a minute, sun, you stop rising. There is no such thing, that is not needed. Without the sun being stopped from rising, I can appreciate that the sun doesn't rise. The sun is stationary. And therefore, even without denying this experience of sunrise, I can appreciate, even without stopping the experience of sunrise, I can appreciate very well, that the sun does not rise. Crystal clear, correct? Crystal clear. No educated person can make a mistake. Even in the middle of the night, you wake him up or her up and say, is the sun stationary or moving? Person is very clear. Very clear. That kind of clarity we are looking for here. So when we say table is mithya, when we say table is weightless, we understand very well what that means. Cognitive. I don't have to strip the table away from the wood in order to appreciate it. I don't have to break the table in order to appreciate it. I don't have to disintegrate the wave to appreciate that the wave is mithya and the water is satyam. Cognitive appreciation, correct? So that cognitive appreciation is what is needed whenever there are two things that are tightly connected like this. Like Satyam and Mithya is connected. Tightly connected. Sunrise is there, but if it is wrong, there is the experience, but the experience can lead me to a wrong conclusion that the sun is rotating or revolving around the earth. And there is some knowledge that is needed. some education that is needed, which can help me see that it's exactly the opposite, that the sun is stationary and the earth is rotating and also revolving around the sun. All this science provides that. So just because I have an experience of sunrise, I cannot conclude that the sunrise is Satyam. That experience has to be analyzed to understand what is the truth behind this sunrise. Same way here also, my experience, our experiences are analyzed. The body is being analyzed. The mind is being analyzed. Our perceptions are being analyzed to appreciate what Satyam is, what Mithya is. So this tight connection between Satyam and Mithya is the cause for this confusion in my mind. And later on we will see that why this confusion is not unique to an individual, not unique to some people. Okay, we're going to stop with that. So you can join me. Swasti prajabhyah paripalayantam nyayena margena mahishaha go brahmanebhyah shubhamastu nityam loka samasta sukhino bhavantu kale varshatu parjanyah prithvi sasya shalini deshoyam kshobarahitah brahmana santu nirbhayah om sarve bhavantu sukhinah sarve santu niramayah sarve bhadrani pashyantu ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhavet asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityor ma amritangamaya om purnamadah purnamidam purnat purnamudachyate purnasya purnamadaya purnamevavashishyate om shanti 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 harihi om shri gurubhyo namaha harihi om.